I love business, entrepreneurship, creative work, everything that involves building something bigger than ourselves. But there's one thing about that whole culture that drives me absolutely nuts. So I'm going to do my best not to turn this into a rant, but it very might well be. And that is all the slander that goes towards sleep. That sleep is for the weak, that you don't need sleep, you just need to be obsessed by something. Which I agree with. You need to get obsessed by something. But that doesn't mean you don't need sleep. And that sleep is just some optional thing that's kind of just a waste of time. And the reason why I feel so strongly about this is I lived this life for way too long. There was like solid 2 or 3 years, about 2 years, when I was working at Starbucks. I was still working in retail. I was going to college. And that's when I decided I started wanting to get into business. So there's all these things going on all at once. And I was sleeping maybe 3 hours a night. That was a great night. 4 hours of sleep. Oh, I was golden. I don't need sleep. I work at Starbucks. I'll have an extra cold brew. That was my mindset for about a year and a half, 2 years. Man, I can't even imagine the amount of damage I did to my body in that period. Because I remember distinctly, I would go over to my parents' house. I had moved out at this point. It would be 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the second I would sit on their couch, I'd knock out immediately. I don't think that's a good sign of good health. When you're young in your early 20s, you should be bursting with energy, right? Like that, you should be ready to conquer the world. And I was obsessed. I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow, and I wanted to build a business that was worth something. And I still had all these other things to do on the side until I could cut those off. But since I was so indoctrinated into this space of you don't need sleep, you just need to hustle harder, work harder, and yes, work fucking hard, be obsessed, but there's a point to sleep, because this is also part of the time when I would work for a couple months, work really fucking hard for a couple months, let's get that clear, but then I would get burned out. And I have a feeling a large part of that, and there's other components to it, but a large part of that just came from the fact that sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night, that is not resting my body. Going from Starbucks at 3 in the morning, working there till 9, going to college, doing all my classes throughout the day, then going to a retail job at Hollister, and then working there till 9, 10 at night. Get home, have some food, or go to the gym. Oh yeah, get home. We got a solid 3 hours of sleep till we do it again, and it's just got to do for a while. But man, that was not ideal. The amount of wasted time and energy I had throughout all that. But part of the whole sleep slander too is then I started cutting some of these things off my plate so I could sleep more, but I would feel like almost guilty. I'm sitting in front of a busy road right now, and there's a man just wandering in the middle of this street. So hopefully we don't hear any big thuds. Back to what I was saying. But part of being indoctrinated so much into this culture is even when I started having time, started being able to take some of these other things off my plate, and I had more time to actually work on things that would move the needle forward, like grow a business, start moving down that path, is I almost felt guilty for getting 6 hours of sleep a night. Because that was, that's what I compromised on. That was like Trevor logic of, have some time back, ooh, we should sleep a little bit more, let's do 6 hours. You're working out, you gotta recover, right? But even then, I did that for years and years and years. It actually wasn't until I got the Aura ring that I started seeing my sleep score, started seeing how low it was, and realizing like, oh, my body doesn't actually function optimally without sleep. But I thought I was some special case that didn't need sleep. I was fully convinced that I was somebody that just didn't need that much sleep. I was perfect off 6 hours. I felt groggy when I got 7 or 8. I felt groggy when I got 7 or 8 for the first couple days, because apparently that was just my body catching up on a huge sleep debt. Actually, sleep debts are a thing. Didn't know that at the time, sadly. Your body does have repairs to be doing and things to keep your brain healthy and functioning that's supposed to be doing, and it accumulates a debt over a period of time. So I wonder just like how much of that has to do with the diseases that happen in society right now. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole to get down. But it wasn't until I got this Aura ring that I started focusing on my sleep, and now I'm the complete other end of the spectrum where I sleep more than most of the people I know. I try and get in bed at 9, read for an hour, so I'm falling asleep about 10, and then I wake up at 6. That is my typical day. So that's 9 hours in bed, 8 hours of sleep. I feel wonderful. Let me tell you that. More energy, not crashing in the afternoon. But what nobody actually tells you about this, especially in the business and entrepreneurship culture, is that it's a huge part of your actual creative process and actually getting shit done. So I'm way more effective with my time. I need way less time to do simple things so I can just be more effective. But then also, especially on the creative side, huge game changer. Like, I think of the creative flywheel, and this is actually goes into another part of the whole things I kind of hate about the entrepreneurship business culture, is part of that creative flywheel has to be sleep. I am dead set on that, because there's times where I will go to bed with a problem I'm trying to solve at my job, a project I'm working on there, or in a project I'm working on the side. I worked on it, and I literally will go to bed and have dreams about it. It's insane. I remember I was doing a whole project implementing metrics across the company I work for. So that way we had a system that better kept track of all the KPIs all in one place, all in weekly reports and monthly and quarterly reports. And it was a stretch as far as making sure we had all the right KPIs that would be able to solve the right problems and going down that rabbit hole. But there's times where trying to get it all functioning in one place, I had like roadblocks throughout the day. And I would almost dream about myself working through those problems, and I'd wake up, have that problem locked in. Or writing like a huge campaign. I remember I was doing the momentum building challenge for the modern marketing system last year. And so there's 40 straight days I was working on one campaign, from a initial Facebook ad to a landing page, a long form landing page, and then a 5-day follow-up sequence of emails. Just 40 straight days. I was waking up and writing about that every morning, thinking about it throughout the day. And I noticed a lot of my ideas actually came from when I was asleep, which is something I never thought was possible. Never thought I would be productive while I'm asleep. Not saying that I'm sleeping to be productive, but the amount of problems I'm able to solve when I'm asleep or come back with fresh ideas, it's a game changer, especially when you're in that like workflow or really dialed into a project. And that's what I noticed. That is when you want to sleep the least, because you're obsessed. You just want to work on that. That's actually when I noticed the biggest ROI from my sleep, because all of a sudden I'll hit a roadblock there, wake up, I know how to solve it. I'll hit another roadblock that day, I'll wake up, know how to solve it. Whereas usually what I would end up doing in the past is just try and push forward, and it's like I can't go to sleep until I push through this wall. Turns out this entire time, I just need to go to sleep, let my brain solve it while I'm asleep, and then I'll get past it tomorrow. It's a crazy letting go of control that ended up working very well. But back to the creative flywheel, sleep has to be on there because it just really optimizes the creative side. Then on top of that, there's got to be some sort of inputs, I would think. And then also on top of that, again, something not a whole lot of people in the business culture talk about is walking or movement, and how all these things really contribute to a creative flywheel. I need to make a whole video just talking about that, how I think about my creative flywheel, because I don't like to just sit down and work on ideas and work on them. You gotta sit down and work on them. You gotta move, you gotta walk. For me, it's usually a lot of walking. That moves ideas, and you work towards it some more, and then you move, or maybe it's the end of a work day, so it's time to sleep. But then also at the same time, it's like getting a variety of inputs, because the way I love thinking about creativity and the way that clicked the most for me is actually I learned from Brandon Sanderson. So he wrote the Stormlight Archives. Like, this man is a prolific writer. Look at his book collection. He has written so much and so much great work. And he talks about treating a creative job just a normal job. He sits down, he knows how much he wants to write each day. It's not some guessing of it, but a big part of it is recombination. So instead of trying to come up with net new ideas or brand new ideas, he thinks of creativity and thinking of big new ideas as recombining of old ones. And you think about it, so many of the technologies that we have today are really just reimaginations of new things. Like, how often do new things come out? Very rarely. A lot of things are just advancements of things we already have. And so all these things contribute to a creative process that's not working against your human nature, but working with it. And then it becomes fun, and then you're actually creating cool stuff. And that's really what it's about. But sleep is such a big part of that. And really, the whole entrepreneur business and creative culture really needs to change around that. Because at the end of the day, doesn't, I guess if you want to stay up late, you're like the night owl, 100% do it. And there's going to be periods in your life when you need to go through that sprint. But still, 8 hours? 8 hours of good sleep? Maybe spending 9 hours in bed just having a little relaxing time too so you get the best sleep possible. Absolute game changer.